to Miriam's sketch show. How are you today? This is our Black History Month edition. So we're starting off with giving tribute to African American technologists. Have you ever heard of Gerald Lawson? Have you ever heard of Jerry Lawson? Either of those names ring a bell? Many haven't heard of them until maybe around 2011. Yeah, 2011. One day, Joseph Salter, and I hope I'm saying his name correctly, he was the founder of EAR, the Entertainment Arts Research Incorporation. He was asked, will there ever be any acknowledgement made towards Jerry Lawson? Joseph, I'm sorry to sound so connected to the world, but Joseph, he said he didn't even know who Jerry Lawson was. I don't even know who he says. He was talking about it in an interview. He said, I don't know who he is. I really don't. He even recounted the events. Who is it? He's an African American as well, blazed the way, and he didn't know. No fault of his own, right? Many people hadn't heard of him. So, here's the scoop. I'll tell you, or the sharpened pencil. Lawson was one of the very few African American engineers during the 1970s. He was self-taught. Back then, growing up, he was one of the many who integrated into schools. And the school he went to for elementary school was 99% Caucasian. And his mom was like on the PTA, the president of the PTA, making sure that her son got all the education that was necessary for him to prevail. And as he grew up, he always thought about the different positive things that his teachers instilled in him. And when he got older, as he taught himself, different engineering techniques, he decided to work in engineering for the military. Sooner than later, he said, I'm gonna take this here trade on the road. I'm leaving New York. I'm leaving the East Coast. I'm skedaddling. I'm out of here. He left and went to Silicon Valley. Everybody is going there for technology, for engineering, and it didn't just start now. It's been that way for a while. So when counting, this is the 1970s when he left. And he went over to Silicon Valley, still working in military though, military engineering. Uh-oh. The story gets a little interesting. So he worked in military engineering in the West Coast over there. And after working for a while and building military devices, he landed a position at a company called Fairchild Semiconductors. Now, initially, while he was working there, he was like a recruiter, kind of go out and do different things to try to turn around the company and get the word out about the company. And unfortunately, he realized quick that this company didn't have the best reputation, to say it politely. They didn't have the best reputation. He's like, man, listen, I am already probably 1 or 2% of African Americans in engineering at this time. I gotta make this better, not just for this company, but for me. So what he did was he analyzed what was going on. He figured out, well, the customers don't really care for Fairchild. They don't trust them. They don't want to really work with them. They're not really that, intrigued by the service or the way that they have been treated. So he went down to the marketing department at Fairchild and discussed some reasonings with them. Like, can we turn this thing around? And it would be great if we did work on this. As he did that, let me tell you something about what he and the marketing department created. They engineered and remodeled an RV. Yes, one of those RVs that you go in, you ride along, you do your family trips in back then, and even some people now still take the RV out and ride along cross country. They converted an RV into like a customer service marketing bus. I don't know how to really explain it, but it just sounds like it's one of the most magnificent things you can see, especially during that time in the 1970s. I mean, if you work somewhere and they have a horrible reputation and you really want to, take things to the next level, turn your company around, you gotta kind of push the envelope really, really well. Push the envelope so well it'll show. And that's exactly what he did. They took an RV. When they took this RV, they made it look as if it was an interactive space machine to a certain degree. Just to describe it a little, it had rear-facing screens. It had brochures within it about the company that could be handed out to people. It had rear projecting screens that came out of the ceiling, like it just flipped out. Hello. It sounds so magnificent. I mean, have you ever just walked down the street and saw those dental buses? They're like sitting on the side and you're welcome on in, and the dentist will do like a general exam, check your teeth, see if everything's okay. They need to step their game up. I mean, cavities is on an all-time high, and if you really want to invite people in, put some of these rear projector screens in and make it flip out the way Lawson did back in the 70s. Because I'm reading about this and I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I mean, it just sounds great. It sounds innovative, and it sounds like something that would capture anyone's attention just walking by. Like, what is that? Let me go see. And to find out that what this bus is being, is a marketing tool for a company who seemingly has a horrible reputation, you're kind of like, well, I want to hear what they have to say. I want to know what's really going on. So he sounds like a genius. This is a genius. This is not just a sound. He's a definite genius. So this is not what he did all by himself. It doesn't stop there. He kept going. Now, he has some friends who are in the gaming industry, and one of his friends had created a Pong game, and he put this Pong game in a store or something, and was like, I made my own game. Kids can play it and put little coins in, and it'll be great. Kids were smart. These kids were like, I'm gonna check the system. I'm gonna put a metal hanger in and make the coin part of it think that I put in a quarter so I can play this game for free. And telling Lawson about it, he thought it was funny. He was just like, are you kidding me? Is that what happened? I mean, he might have fixed it, but as an engineer, he also decided to make a game about it. He created a game out of this idea of, being rigged. He called it Demolition Derby, and it wasn't for Fairchild. It was on his own time, a hobby, just something to do, hanging out with his homies, like, I'm with my buddies. This is what me and my buddies do. We create games together. Well, Fairchild heard about it, and they were like, hey, is he trying to leave us? This is our genius. This is our $1 million man. He can't leave us. So they said, would you like to work on games here with us and develop some games here? And from there, he not only developed a game, he did a little more than just that. This African-American man, who should have been highlighted and blazed across history, he introduced a system, a gaming system, for, what would it be called? A cartridge technology, I guess it would be, for cartridge technology. The first at-home system, gaming system with cartridge technology was invented by this dude here, Gerald Lawson. Jerry Lawson. You know, back in the day, just in case you're wondering about my prop here, the Nintendo game had those big old, well, prop I'm thinking is big, but the game cartridges, you put it in the Nintendo, and when you're playing the game, you have these cartridges. This here man is the inventor. He started these cartridge-styled games. The game was the Fairchild Channel F. So, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I have an Xbox. Oh my God. I remember when I grew up, we didn't have an Xbox. We had an Atari. Some people say, oh, I didn't have an Xbox. I didn't have an Atari back when I was a kid. I had a Fairchild Channel F. The Fairchild Channel F was a competitor back then to the Atari. And the difference was the phenomenal cartridge system. See, in the Atari, the actual games were built within the game console. Not with this. Not with the Channel F. This guy here was allowing people to use this one gaming system and take out the cartridge, put in a different game in that same console. It's something never heard of. Originally, they were a little afraid because it was like, this is something new. What if it explodes? You know, what are we going to do if it explodes? What's the backup plan? It didn't explode. It took off. It took off, and I will say it's amazing to introduce you to this man here if you don't know him already, because the gaming industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it has trailblazed its way for many individuals. It has brought entertainment to many families. That there is probably more people who have a gaming console in their home than they have computers, to be completely honest. That it is an honor to introduce and give homage, to say the least, during African American History Month to this guy here, an African American self-taught engineer in the gaming industry who many may not have heard of until 2011. Unfortunately, Lawson has passed away. However, that doesn't mean that he is in the story or that he shouldn't be someone that we learn about and know about and learn from and teach our children about what he has done and his contribution to our homes. As someone who has developed something so genius, any geniuses, I mean, to start off and remind you from the beginning, he was saving a Fairchild. He was saving their company in multiple ways. With the RV, that one, and then creating a brand new system. He saved that organization. Later, he started his own organization. Went independent, of course. What? You're like, brilliant? definitely brilliant. He definitely went and started his own organization and became an entrepreneur. And this loss for this sketch show is this tribute to Gerald Lawson for his brilliant contribution as an African-American technologist. I hope you like my sketch. Gerald Fairchild. The Channel F on the side. Thanks for tuning in. Visit us at MarionSmart.com for the African American model.